When we come back tonight, who controls the Internet?
The beauty of the Internet is that by destroying the Internet, I would also destroy myself. You see, the Internet has a certain vulnerability, but likewise, people are dependent on it.
You might have been watching our program on Monday when we broadcast what we think was the first ever interactive Internet quiz. We set up an Internet relay chat channel, and the idea was that we would ask questions here on television, and you could respond over the Internet. Well, all did not go according to plan, and here's a quick look at just one of the things that happened. And now we're being spammed, as Kate says. And what's that, Kate?
Means that someone is posting messages that they'd like everyone on television to see, I think, about what they think of Microsoft.
And they keep saying it over and over and over again because they think they're going to be on TV. Well, we should tell everybody who's on the chat that you're not going to be on TV, just your answer is going to be on TV, and I'm not going to read anything but the answer. So let's try that again. But right now, we're being spammed. There's just somebody who's putting in the same answer over and over and over again. Hackers have taken over.
This entire escapade has left us wondering about netiquette, as it's called, and who assumes responsibility for behavior on the Internet. With more, I'm joined in our studio by Andrew Heinzeman, publisher of Shift magazine, Joe Baptista, computer systems administrator. Hello to both of you. Hi. Andrew, what is netiquette? What are people supposed to do when they're on the Internet?
People are supposed to do what they're always supposed to do, and that's essentially be polite and respectful of one another. And you know, the rules on the Internet are really no different. There's different ways of applying them because it's a different medium. But the essence, in my view, is quite similar to how you communicate face-to-face on a street level.
So you don't be rude.
Yeah, I think that's one of the maxims.
Joe, you've been you had a very interesting past because at times you have disrupted nets like the FidoNet a few years ago.
Yes.
Do you think that sort of thing is justified?
No, absolutely not. My disruption of the network back then had some justification in my mind, and it was a serious matter, the issues we were dealing with. But in my old age, I've come to determine that it's very improper to disrupt communications.
Why?
Because, well, simply you put people at risk. You put at risk of losing their communications and their ability to function. In the case of the Internet, if you disrupt the Internet, governments worldwide can go offline, companies worldwide can go offline. It's an economic disaster.
Okay, but explain one thing to me then, because aside from the net, you are involved even today in faxing various offices and departments in the Ontario government, and overloading fax machines, and you yourself say you're costing the Ontario government millions of dollars. That sounds to me like a disruption of communication. That's something you just said was not justified.
Oh, well, no. Let's be clear. When it comes to government, I see government as being the biggest malicious risk against communication and possibly a significant potential damage to the Internet. And my reasons for going after government are very simple. I first send them notices as to what I'm going to do. I allow them a few months to fix or correct their problems, and then I aggravate their problems.
So, but you're still an anarchist in that sense, aren't you?
Absolutely. When it comes to government, the less government I can see in the future, the better. Because essentially the Internet at this point can easily, you as an individual in collective association with other Canadians nationwide, can govern your governments without any politicians.
I do want to get back to Andrew on this, but see, what makes me nervous about what you're saying is that you make an arbitrary decision about what's good and what isn't. Governments are bad in your mind, and then you use exactly the same techniques that we're really talking about here.
Yes.
Unilateral disruption of communication. Now, I don't feel like I can trust your motives in every case, and you know, we're talking here originally about a relatively trivial little case of some people somewhere disrupting a little TV quiz. But I can't trust their motives either. You see what I mean?
But I think this is clearly outside of this jurisdiction, because you have to understand, when it comes to government, I am officially at war. I have specifically violated the criminal code that deals with high treason. So you're going into an area that involves law, basically, that involves issues where I'm forcing this government to comply and resolve issues that I brought to its attention 2 years ago. Disrupting the net is no different than censorship. There's no difference between the two. An individual going in there and specifically disrupting the net for his own purpose is essentially censoring.
Yeah, and you don't find that justifiable?
Not at all, no, not at all. I firmly believe that everybody has the right to communicate and communicate their position. The problem that happened with this whole etiquette scenario, and the problem that happened was simply that the internet is a reflection of what humanity is like, what our civilization has become, and we are still very immature, and we're very rude, very impolite, badly mannered, and some of our society, and some of that comes through, it bleeds through.
I think that's the important point, that generally etiquette on the net is high, but yet at the same time you can't trust in that to respond to everything. You know, there's always going to be exceptions to it. There are always going to be people who move against the general flow, are trying to be disruptive, whose main goal is to disrupt communication, and that's just a fact of life you have to deal with if you're going to get onto the internet.
Is the internet uniquely vulnerable to things like this? And I don't want to come back to the whole government thing, but if somebody like Joe has the power or the knowledge to disrupt it, are we in a different era now than we were like 30 years ago when he might go and stand on a street corner or keep his phone line busy? I mean, is this a uniquely vulnerable thing, Andrew?
His ability to reach more people is enhanced, and to get out his or her message is enhanced. So I would say yes, it's a different medium, and probably the power to the individual is greater, and their ability to get out their message is greater than it ever has been.
It's very vulnerable. It's extraordinarily vulnerable. The internet, there are people who know how to disrupt it, and I'm quite sure that there are people, and it has been done. The internet worm is one good example that got loose and it closed down machines worldwide. I mean, you can use the internet to actually disrupt economies. You could use it to destroy currencies. Easily.
Well, this is exactly why I'm nervous about your stance, because you've decided the government is your enemy. If you chose to disrupt the government instead of by faxing them, by getting into the internet and screwing it up somehow, what worries me is to you that, at least to me, it seems that you would think that was justifiable.
No, because the beauty of the internet is that by destroying the internet, I would also destroy myself. You see, the internet has a certain vulnerability, but likewise, people are dependent on it. And it develops and encourages dependency upon itself. So to go forth and disrupt it is ultimately to destroy my own abilities and everyone else's.
And I would say, you know, being as I'm not at war with the Canadian government, I would hope that in a way they would have defenses against the kind of actions you're talking about, and they wouldn't rely on etiquette, but they would rely on, I mean, on you know, defending my information, which they have in their hands, and everyone else's, and so I think in the end you have to remove the discussion from etiquette. Etiquette won't deal with the situation. There's security issues, there's information issues, there's communication issues, which go outside of good behavior.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely the bottom line. Thanks very much to both of you.
Thank you,
Andrew.